captivating chat. Thank you for joining me again. It was a lot of fun last week. A lot of technical difficulties. We were supposed to go on at 5 o'clock. I think we didn't get on till almost 5:12 or something. Issues with Restream. Um, just making all my mistakes right in front of you, all the growing pains and everything. It's kind of like when I started doing these shows for the first time with Dr. Whimsy Anderson with Taco Tuesdays. Uh, when I found out I was going on live that afternoon, and I had never done a live show of any kind in my life, I panicked. But yet, that old stage training of mine kicks in. That 3, 2, 1, you're live. Here I am. I'm home, and this is where I love to be. It's what I enjoy doing. Um, I'm very comfortable, but I also subscribe to what I said last week. You should do something every single day that scares the hell out of you. And a little element still does that with me, like when we were trying to get the restream set up before the show. But anyway, I'm here and I'm excited, and we're going to have some fun. As I promised, we were going to talk about new Hollywood, and we're going to talk about old Hollywood. You guys love hearing the Lucy stories, and that's my love. That's my specialty. So I have another Lucille Ball story for you. And I have a really special piece of memorabilia that I own that I'm going to share with you that ties in with this incredible Lucille Ball story. But, in current show business news, the SAG strike, the SAG after strike, may be in its final days. We're certainly hoping that. It was said today that if a deal is not struck by this weekend, that's going to mean the cancellation of many, if not all, of the planned summer blockbuster films for next summer. It still could be very much up in the air if we're even going to have a television season this year. The fall season was going to be moved up to January on the assumption the strike was going to end. So there is claims the talks are going well, a resolution is near, but there are others who are saying no, they still have not hammered out all the details for how profits are going to be distributed for streaming services. And as I mentioned last week, that is huge because actors used to make most of their money off of conventional broadcast television and cable, which is diminishing right now. As we have seen, streaming is the new frontier. Series that are on streaming channels typically are much shorter, sometimes 6 to 10 episodes. So there's less money to be made. And right now, the money is, most of it's just going to the producers. Producers are getting rich. Actors are getting gypped, and actors are not standing for that. And of course, as I mentioned last week, artificial intelligence, where a person can come into a studio and they can be scanned from head to toe, and then that image can be used into perpetuity for literally thousands and thousands of hours, potentially years, and the actor gets paid that one time. So it's not right. So let's see how it goes. The writers struck a good deal. They got what they wanted. I hope the actors get the same, and I hope they resolve it by the end of the week. We also saw Celine Dion made her first public appearance in close to 4 years. We all love this lady. She's incredible, and she's had health issues. It's something, stiff person syndrome. I think that's the correct name for it, where literally her body stiffens up. It renders her unable to sing, to perform on stage. But she was seen at a ball game the other night. She did appear in public, and she looked lovely. So we're very happy about that. And of course, the big talk is still Matthew Perry, the tragedy of Matthew Perry. We're going to have to wait several weeks until the toxicology report comes in to find the official cause of death. But indications are there were no signs of substance abuse, alcohol abuse around him in his home. His home seemed to be clean. The autopsy apparently was not conclusive. Yesterday, Dr. Whimsy and I were talking about this. I'm trained as a naturopathic doctor's assistant. She, of course, is a naturopathic doctor. And we were both theorizing it could have been his heart giving out. I have known people who have stayed too long in hot tubs and saunas. Older people, it can be quite dangerous. Matthew Perry was 54 years old. He had abused his body for a very long time, and it could have been something like that. But it's very sad. My heart goes out to him. I have known a number of people who are recovering addicts, recovering alcoholics. And I know from them the struggle that they go through every day, every single day. I, I learned a lot once when I attended an AA meeting. I did that for a friend of mine. You may be aware that every anniversary of sobriety is considered their new birthday. And in the AA meeting, it's a custom to have a friend, bring in a friend and have them present a cake to them. And I had a friend in recovery who honored me by asking me to be the friend to present the cake to him. And we didn't do that till the end of the meeting. So I sat there, only meeting I've ever attended in my life, but I sat there and listened to everyone. And of course, one by one, people would stand up, state their name, blah, blah, blah. I am an alcoholic. Well, it came to me. I stood up, said, hi, I'm Chuck Dransfield. And then everybody looked at me like, and I said, oh, well, I'm just here for a friend. I didn't want to say more. I didn't want to say, well, I'm not an alcoholic, but I didn't want to be rude. I wanted to be respectful. But I sat there and I considered it a privilege as the meeting went on, because I was listening to people telling their stories one by one. I didn't realize how naive I was myself about recovery. I think I still was of that thinking, oh, you get recovered and then you go on with life. No. People were standing up saying things like, I have been sober for 23 years and every day gets harder for me. There is not, sometimes it's hour by hour. I still want a drink. It is still a struggle. And I heard these stories over and over and over consistently, to where I thought, these people are brave. These are fighters. They're brave. These are brave people. And my heart went out to them. And that was my first thought with Matthew Perry. I was a brave man. He was brave to tell his story, to write that book last year, his autobiography, for him to go on shows like Diane Sawyer and talk for an hour about his abuse, to talk about things like going to real estate open houses just so he could go in the bathrooms and the medicine cabinets and see what kind of pills they had and what he could steal. And he even said himself, well, nobody's going to think Chandler Bing is going to steal medication. He knew he could get away with it because of his celebrity. But that was brave. And of course, it was touching when he said, I don't want to be remembered for friends. I know that's what I'm going to be remembered for, but I want to be remembered for what I've done to help people with their own journeys and with their own recovery. So he was a beautiful man, and our prayers go out to him. So anyway, that's current Hollywood. We are now going to segue to something that has proven to be very popular. You may know that I do these men on the street pieces, individual videos. I've been posting one a day. As of November 1st, I'm going to start doing 2 a day. By the prompting of my wonderful manager, Debbie Brady, who keeps kicking my butt and keeps propelling me forward and teaches me that I can do a lot more than I think I can. So we're going to be doubling the output this month. But I've been doing a number of pieces. We've got some podcasts, like my series on haunted Hollywood. Debbie did a beautiful job assembling these all together consecutively. We have an even 13 for Halloween for haunted Hollywood, and we have podcasts around that, and we're assembling more. It's getting really exciting. I have been getting feedback from you that you love the Lucille Ball pieces I do. In fact, the biggest response I ever had was a story I did where I stood in front of the old RKO Studios, which of course is now Paramount Studios on Melrose. And that's where Lucy and Desi met in 1940. in 1940. And so I just stood there, told the story. You may know that I once worked on a book about Lucille Ball. I worked on a screenplay. I've done years of research. I worked alongside the great late Bart Andrews, who, of course, wrote the I Love Lucy book. And he passed on to me his archives. He gave me his Rolodex with all of the people at the time who were still alive, who worked on I Love Lucy, worked with Lucille Ball. And so I have all this collected information. It's all up here in my head. And now I'm just telling these stories. And I also wanted to mention, speaking of great couples like Lucy and Desi, in November, I want to be doing a series about Hollywood couples. I'm already working on pieces about George Burns and Gracie Allen, Clark Gable and Carol Lombard, Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, just a few of them. So that's in the works. It's coming along. But anyway, the Lucille Ball pieces are popular, and it's what I love to talk about. So that's what we're going to talk about again. Like I did last week, I talked about how Lucy and Desi, I told how they met, but I went further and told how they eloped. And it's just the most incredible story. And thank you for your lovely responses and feedback and viewership. You really touched my heart. Today, I'm going to talk about how Lucy came to Hollywood. She was not yet 22 years old, and she had been in New York trying her luck unsuccessfully, being a chorus girl. And she kept getting fired from shows where she would be like 4 or 5 weeks into rehearsal, and then she'd get let go. And in those days, they did not pay you for rehearsal time. So Lucy was just, but she was very tenacious. She kept plugging away, but she made her living working as a dress model for the Hattie Carnegie Salon, which at the time was quite prestigious in New York City. Many, many famous people went there. A lot of movie stars, when they were in New York, went to Hattie Carnegie's. And Lucy, at the time, with her hair was bleached platinum blonde at the time, which was very much in vogue because of Jean Harlow. She bore a strong resemblance to the actress Joan Bennett. So that's why Hattie Carnegie wanted her. She wanted her to model for Joan Bennett when she would come in, but also just to model in general. That was back in the days where a rich client would come into the dressing room and the models would walk in, and do their little thing and show off the dress. You may remember the movie The Women with Joan Crawford and Norma Shearer and Rosalind Russell, where they were in a salon and these models were walking around. There was one going, zips up in the back and no bones, and things like that. Well, that's what Lucy did. She walked around showing the dresses. Lucy was tall. She had a beautiful figure. It was something that came innately to her. She was very poised, and she knew how to walk. She knew how to move. And those were qualities that served her entire life. But it really worked then because she became in demand with Hattie Carnegie. She worked a lot. So it was one day, it was a very hot summer. It was July 11th, 1933. And there was this agent named Sylvia Kylo who spotted Lucy and called out to her on the sidewalk. It was somewhere near Broadway in New York. Oh, and I forgot to add that Lucy did some modeling for artists, allegedly did some nudes. I don't think those have ever turned up, but she modeled for an artist. It was just a beautiful portrait of her face. And unbeknownst to her, that artist sold that drawing to Chesterfield Cigarettes, and Lucy found herself on a great big billboard in New York City. I think it might have even been Times Square. Anyway, she was a bona fide cover girl. She was on a billboard. And Sylvia Kylo called out to Lucy, Lucy, come over here, please. I need to talk to you. Sylvia was panicking because she was doing casting for an Eddie Cantor musical called Roman Scandals in Hollywood. And what they wanted for the chorus girls, they wanted to assemble 12 women who were cover girls, women who had appeared in print ads of some kind. That was the criteria. And Sylvia was in a panic because one of the women, the young women, her mother at the last minute forbade her to go to Hollywood. You are not going to sinful Hollywood. It's just not happening. So that poor woman, young woman, was forced to drop out, and that left Sylvia in a predicament where she had to find a 12th cover girl fast. And she called out to Lucy, knowing Lucy had been on the Chesterfield billboard. And she said, look, how would you like to go to Hollywood and be in a movie? And Lucy just said, well, I'll do anything to get out of this heat right now, because it was middle of summer. She said, sure, why not? What the hell? That was Lucy's attitude. She didn't think it was going to be anything big. But Sylvia gave her the address for this man. I'm going to look it up right here because I've got the original piece I'm going to show you in a second. But his name was Jim Mulvey, and he was doing the casting. And according to Lucy in her autobiography, he had this tiny little office on the second floor directly above one of the Broadway theaters. And Lucy went up there, sat at the desk, and there was no time to do a screen test. Basically, it was just an interview, because that's how little time they had. And Lucy said that was a blessing, because if they had done a screen test, she would not have been selected, because at the time she had crooked teeth that had not been fixed yet. And she just, well, in her opinion, she didn't think she was photogenic at the time. We know Lucy was gorgeous, but that was what she said. She did not think she would have passed a screen test. So Jim Mulvey basically looked at her, saw she was a beautiful woman, saw she had beautiful legs, that she'd look good as a chorus girl, and signed her to a contract then and there in the office. And he said, you're going to, it was a Tuesday. And he said, you're going to leave Saturday on the 15th. And I know that because I have in my possession here, I don't know if you can see this here. This is the letter, the actual letter Samuel Goldwyn Studios sent to Lucille Ball at her home she was living in a little tiny apartment. I believe it was in Queens. And she said it was above an Italian restaurant. And the apartment just stank of garlic because of the Italian restaurant. And she was sharing that apartment with her grandfather and her mother. That letter came there, and it just said, it's addressed to Lucille D. Ball. Desiree was her middle name. Dear Miss Ball, please be advised, we desire you to leave New York for Los Angeles, California on Saturday evening, July 15th. Will you please communicate with this office concerning your transportation? This letter is dated July 13th. She was leaving July 15th. So she didn't have much time to get ready. Lucy just thought it was a lark. And the reason I really wanted to own this, because on the flip side, let's see if you can see this, that is, you can probably see fold lines. Lucy folded up the letter, and in pencil, she wrote her train schedule. This is the actual train schedule. Lucy had this probably in her purse on the train 90 years ago when she came to Hollywood. So I had to own this. I love Lucille Ball so much. You can even see glue. I'm trying to avoid glare here, but you can probably see glue at the top of this. Lucy was an inveterate scrapbook keeper. Her whole life, the woman never threw anything away. When she died, they had something like 20 thick scrapbooks. This woman kept letters, telegrams. She'd keep matchbook covers from nightclubs, everything. So I know that's where this letter came from and why there's glue at the top. I would imagine her daughter, Desi Arnaz, just took it out of the scrapbook and put it in the auction where I got this. But anyway, I wanted to show that because it ties in so beautifully with my story, and it's a way I can make it more personal. I have this hanging on my wall. But anyway, Lucy reported to the train station the evening. I think, yeah, it was, she left the evening, Saturday, July 15th, and I believe she said it was at 8:40 p.m., and the train went to Chicago, as indicated on her train schedule, and then eventually Los Angeles, where they arrived the following Wednesday. It was on the train that Lucy became very close with a young woman. I think she was about 18, a beautiful, beautiful, delicate blonde named Barbara Pepper. Now, if that name means anything to you, Barbara Pepper, uh, late in her career, played Doris Ziffel on the situation comedy Green Acres. She was only like 54 when she died. But she and Lucy formed a lifelong friendship on that train. And as you know from I Love Lucy, Barbara Pepper made many, many small little appearances on the show. I forget the exact number, but you always see Barbara Pepper popping up, playing a character somewhere along the way. It's usually just a few lines here or there. It was said that Barbara Pepper was strongly being considered to play Ethel Mertz, strongly considered. And Lucy toyed with the idea because, Barbara would have been good casting in the role, except for her alcoholism. What happened? Barbara did not have the success Lucy had, obviously. She came out, became a Goldwyn girl just like Lucy, stayed around in Hollywood like Lucy, appeared in a few little films during the 30s, sometimes appeared in the 40s, but nothing big. But it was in the late 40s, her husband was killed in a motorcycle accident, leaving Barbara with 2 young boys to raise, and she was practically destitute. She was grief-stricken. She started overeating. She packed on a lot of weight, and she became an alcoholic. Her drinking escalated. So Lucy just felt they couldn't take a chance on her. They already had William Frawley, who was an alcoholic, and they were concerned about his drinking being a problem on the show. So they thought, well, we certainly can't have 2 actors on the show we're going to have to worry about. So that eliminated Barbara Pepper from the running. But Lucy was deeply loyal to her friends, and she saw to it that Barbara Pepper had a regular paycheck so she could help take care of her boys. And that's why Barbara appeared often in all those little bit roles. Anyway, that's a little digression there, but they met on the train going to Hollywood. And of course, the train arrived in Pasadena, not specifically Hollywood. It arrived in Pasadena on the following Wednesday. It was something like 8 o'clock in the morning. And of course, the ladies had to be all dressed up and everything because photographers were there, publicity photographers, and they did all these nice cheesecake photos, which still exist. They're still out there. And then Lucy said a limo came and took them to Hollywood, where they were taken to the Sam Goldwyn studios. And by the way, I have a video posted in front of Sam Goldwyn Studios talking about Lucy first coming to Hollywood, if you want to know more about it. But anyway, they were brought to Sam Goldwyn Studios, and they were promptly put to work doing publicity photos. And Lucy got a little studio apartment just down the street on Formosa. If any of you are familiar with Hollywood, across from Sam Goldwyn is the famous Formosa Cafe, which was just recently restored quite beautifully. That's just a little side story. But anyway, I've never been able to find the address of where the studio apartment was, but it was there. And anyway, that's the story of what happened with Lucy coming to Hollywood. I'll elaborate on it further. You can watch my video. But, we're running out of time here, and I promised that I would do 1 or 2 readings with oracle cards here. I hope somebody here has a question for me. I've got my cards here. If not, I'm going to have to wing it and keep talking about Lucy. So I would love it if somebody have a question for me, please. Nobody does. We have a few people watching. So I guess I'll just keep talking about Lucy and winging it then. We're going to have I'm going to try to make a point to have a Lucille Ball story every week. I'm going to incorporate other Hollywood stories. So maybe we'll vary it a little. I'm going to look out for your feedback. Because I want to give you what you want. But we both love Lucy very much. But as we know, Lucy did come to Sam Goldwyn Studios. I'm going to keep talking. Somebody gives me a question here. Hey, it's live. I'm new to this, so I'm trying to wing it during these last few minutes. But she came to the studio, and she quickly made an impression on Eddie Cantor, who was the star of the movie. Lucy just wanted to, I see someone here, they said they posted one, but I don't see it anywhere here. So I don't know where that question is. So, we'll have to find out the reason for that in the future. I'm not seeing any streaming here like I should be. Let's see. Here's the question. When and where should I move and retire? I don't know if cards are going to give me a specific answer like that, but let's see. Moving, are you asking me, do you want to move and retire? You want to know how that's going to go? I can tell you more about that. Cards are not going to say when and where. They're not going to be that specific, not these type of cards. So I'll wait till they come back again and further elaborate. But I will tell you, I keep talking about Lucy. Eddie Cantor was the star of the movie. Lucy, even at that age, at 22, what's this say here? Near term or not for a while. Oh, near term or not for a while. Okay, that's more specific. We may have to pick up this Eddie Cantor story later. So let me see what I'm going to get here with the cards. I've shuffled these. I'm getting, first of all, creativity guides. I always take that to mean check in with your intuition, see where you're being guided. What are you feeling? What are you feeling in regards to this? Because your intuition is going to probably give you a clear answer to that, if it's going to be soon or for a while. So that's the card I pulled, creativity. Second card I pulled here is restriction. So I'm just getting, there's something going on that's maybe it's something legal. It's something that needs to be worked out. There's something in your life where it's not quite time to be retiring, moving on, because there's something restricting, something that needs to be worked on, something that needs to be addressed. So that's what I'm getting right there. So we're going to keep that to a couple of cards there. That's what I'm getting right now. Creativity. I know you personally. I know who sent the message. I know how creative you are. I know how intuitive you are. I know how inventive you are. So I know you're going to put that to use. And that's what's telling us. You're one of these people who thinks outside of the box. You look at all the variables and you don't always take a conventional path. And that's what I feel you're being called on for creativity, as to determine when and where you want to retire. But you're definitely dealing with some present restrictions. So I hope that makes sense. Joyce just asked me, may I draw an oracle card for the month of November? Okay, let's go here. I'm getting, I got rest, Holy Spirit, rest. I don't know if you feel you've been doing too much, you've been pushing yourself too hard. I know for myself, this has been important to me because I've been pushing myself very hard with all of these activities going on, such as this show I'm doing right now. With all I had to do today, I actually treated myself when a friend called me and said, would you like to take a walk for an hour? I took a walk today, about 40 minutes before the show, and I'm glad that I did. So I'm just getting something along these lines. Be mindful of that. It could be it's just saying rest. You've got a lot on your plate this month, a lot going on in November. Plus, just for all of us, the holidays are coming up, family gatherings, preparations, whatever you're working on in your life right now, it's telling you to rest. The vibe I'm getting is it's about balance with your work and your rest. And look, it's coming from Holy Spirit. So that's also just being in touch with your spirit, being in your guides. As my manager, Debbie Brady, said to me, Chuck, you got to be in your happy place. This was when we were trying to figure out some technicalities last week. And honestly, I was freaking out. Big surprise there. And she said, Chuck, go to your happy place. What is your happy place? And I said, well, frankly, it's when I'm here on camera and I'm just talking. This is my happy place. So I think that's true for you. Go to your happy place in November if you start to feel a little overwhelmed, even if it's just family gatherings and so forth. So let me see here. I think we've gone just a little over the 30 minutes here, but um, if anybody would have another question, I'll wait a moment, but otherwise, it's going to be time to sign out. I just want to thank you so much for joining me. This means a lot to me. I take none of you for granted. And what do we have here? Oh, yeah, I just see that Dr. Whimsy just joined us. Hi, Whimsy. I love you. Dr. Whimsy and I do a show called Taco Tuesdays, of course, on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock. And Whimsy is frankly the reason I'm here right now. This woman has been my mentor in so many ways. I won't embarrass Whimsy because she doesn't like me to just keep on and on thanking her. She knows my heart. She knows how grateful I am. But I love what I'm doing. This is exciting. I thank you for bearing with me because I am going through my growing pains in front of all of you live. And I promise I'm going to get much better at this. And I'm going to get a lot more comfortable. And I guess I'm going to sign out for now because I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. Um, I love you very much. Be sure to tune in to my channel, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles. I'm putting a lot of good stuff on there. A lot is there already. I'm going to be doing 2 videos a month where I'm just going to be telling lots of old Hollywood stories, Lucy stories, uh, famous Hollywood couples. May talk about my artwork. I'll listen to your feedback for your suggestions. So I thank you all so very, very much. And I will be here next week, God willing, Wednesday, 5 o'clock, uh, West Coast time. I'm here in LA. And of course, 8 o'clock Eastern. Bye. Bye for now. Okay.
There you are.
There I am. Am I live still?
You are live still.
Okay. No. Okay. How do I turn this off?
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Debbie. Welcome to live broadcasting. Isn't it exciting?
And this is live.
Live. Well, anybody watching?
So,
I hope not.
okay, this is fine. This is the nuts and bolts, folks. If you're still with us, God help you.
I hope you're still-
Happy witches
Folks,
New Year. Somebody wished me Happy New Year, and I'm like, what? What New Year is this? So this is the witches' New Year. So, Chuck, look around on your screen and tell me if you see anything on
I see
your
nothing
studio.
here. Oh, one stream. I just found it. Okay. I just found it.
Okay, try exiting again.
So that's my button. Click it.
Yep.
Okay.